What happens when you combine professional clam digging with stand-up comedy? Meet Casey Watson, a 6'3" former basketball player who spends his days knee-deep in Maine's mudflaps and his nights crushing it on stage. In just 4 short years, Casey's gone from open mic newcomer to featuring for comedy stars like Ari Shaffir and Big J Oakerson. Today, we dive into his unique journey from the clam flats to the spotlight, and why Casey's about to trade it all for a shot at New York City's comedy scene. Welcome to the Starting Stand Up Podcast. My name is David Walton. I am so happy you're here. Casey showed up at my house. I'd never met him. We began some small talk as I met him in the driveway, and then I quickly told him to shut his mouth because I wanted to record everything. So please enjoy this hour-long chat where two men truly meet each other for the first time and get right into it. I hope you'll enjoy it as much as I did. Casey's a lovely man, full of talent and dreams, and I now consider him a friend, and I hope you will too. Please enjoy Casey Watson.
Oh man, that's rubbish! That's rubbish!
All right, we're cooking. Casey.
Hello.
Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you, yeah.
Just for context, for those listening, Casey, we have never met. We just met 3 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Okay, 3 minutes. Caleb, our last guest, and you are good friends, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we're going to live get to know each other for you. And the first thing I want to say is just my impression. You're a handsome, big man.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, give me your weight like you're a boxer. Or height and weight.
Are we going Division III basketball stats? Because with that,
start with that, because I know you're a basketball
that
player.
was 6'4", 225. Realistically, 6'3", 235, probably.
Now, in your age, how old are you?
28.
Sweet. So what year are you born?
96. I was December of 96.
Okay,
so.
I was a junior in high school.
Oh, jeez.
So I'm a wise man. So
yeah.
I'm going to teach you some things. And the reason you're on, well, I'll tell you what Caleb said. He loves you, by the way. And he also said that you started doing stand-up how many years ago?
2021, so 4 years ago.
Yeah, and you've been very quick, meaning you've headlined something at the Empire Comedy Club.
Yeah, headlined Empire, the other smaller club in Maine, and then one other show around here. That's in the last month. So
in the last month.
Yeah.
So would you say that you are at the apex of, you're rising and you haven't started, there's no dip yet?
I don't know. I haven't wrote a good new joke in like a month.
Oh, we're going to get into that. Oh, yeah. So you're having a hard time finding a good new one?
I had last night. I finally got a premise where I was like, all right, now we got something.
Can you share it or no?
Yeah. I mean, I've wondered if it's been done before is my problem. But basically, you know the song The Gambler by Kenny Rogers?
Of course.
Well, the whole song, he sets it up like you get this great gambling advice, and the only advice is know when to hold them and know when to fold them, which is that's not advice. That's just like if your chef friend was if you're oh, what's the secret to making good chicken? He's like, you got to know when to turn it. You're like, right, but how do I know, man? That's what I want to know.
I like that. So tell me, let's just get right into it because I don't want to have a pre-plan, and we're already into joke writing. So 4 years ago, you begin. What is the impetus to begin writing and telling jokes?
So in college, I always watched stand-up, growing up, that was...
You loved it.
Yeah, I always liked comedy. My dad always just would, no matter what, would throw on, some sort of... Not that I don't like action movies, but it was, always that. And I was like, dude, let's watch something funny here. We need to, relax a little. And then, but he liked George Carlin a lot. So he showed me Carlin when I was young.
Okay.
And then we always would watch you remember the Blue Collar Comedy Tour with like
Yeah.
Foxworthy?
Jeff,
Yeah. My family loved that. They loved the guy with the Jeff Dunham.
Uh-huh.
My parents were a huge
Jeff Dunham does props, right?
Yeah,
Or-
he does puppets.
Puppets, yeah.
And like, so I always watched that stuff. And then like in middle school, I got super into Dane Cook, of course.
Oh,
'Cause, like,
wow.
that was the perfect age for me and Dane Cook. Like,
Yeah, when I moved out to LA, Dane was he was the peak.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like I fell in love with like New York comedy of like Attell and
Uh-huh.
you know, Sam Morril is like one of the big
I
people that
love
got me
him.
into it. Joe List, Normand, all those guys, you know.
Amazing.
And then the pandemic happened, and I was graduating college, so
Where'd
I
you go?
graduated on Zoom. UMaine Farmington.
You went to UMaine Farmington and you had to graduate on Zoom?
We like, the end of school was basically, I was in my internships, so I was working at a school and a hospital. The two places like they're not gonna let you keep going as like an intern when COVID started. And then I just didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, what am I gonna do with my life? Like graduating school and then just nothing happening.
Yeah,
with,
because
like,
you're 24?
yeah. And I was like, this is odd. And then I just watched stand up all the time because like we were doing nothing. I was like, I need something positive here. And then I was like, man, I really should do this because at one point in college, like a friend of mine was like, have you ever thought about doing stand up? And I was,
you don't have to be humble. Were you always your funniest in the friend group? Like,
so I mean, depends. In like my hometown friend group, like when I grew up in,
yeah,
we were all funny though. Like, I feel like,
everybody was funny.
right, and like I don't know. But in college, I felt like I was more like comment to the side funny.
Yes.
Where like I would say something and it would be funny, but I'm like, I don't want to say it in front of everyone.
Right. Well, there's this big thing that I find weird is that some of the funniest people in the world, when you hang out with them, like I hung out with Will. Will Ferrell. My friend wife was their nanny, right? So I was hanging out with Will Ferrell at their wedding, you know. And it's like there's no funny coming out of him.
Yeah.
He's just like, but then he stands up to give a toast, and it's unbelievably funny.
Right.
And I find that the stand-ups, like the problem with stand-up almost is like the person who's always bidding and always like on, just intolerably, it's intolerable. And so you're like already sensitive to that. You're like kind of like, I'm going to do an aside here. These are hard jokes. Like,
also, I always thought like the class clown, like the one that would like get in front and like do silly stuff. I was like, all right, dude, that's like.
You never get laid.
Yeah.
That was my problem.
I was like,
I
what a
learned
hack.
that in ninth grade.
The guy who's like doing like fart jokes in front of everyone. I'm like, oh, come on, dude.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so yeah, you start to.
Oh, and then the pandemic happened, and then an open mic started. I saw an open mic
in Portland.
In at the time I was living in Phippsburg still, but in Bath, which is the town right next to where I grew up. And it was like a booked open mic, which I didn't know. I just emailed them and was like, hey, can I sign up? And they were like, sure, but this one's booked, but we'll give you like 5 minutes up top. And
this was popping your cherry. This was the first one. And were you prepared?
I wrote down stuff. I mean,
yeah. Do you have a recording of that first 5?
I don't actually.
Do you remember what you said?
Not really.
Did you get laughs?
People there were very nice. And like I still know them, and like because they still do the open mic that's in a different town now. But there was like 4 people there. Like there's I tell this all the time, but like John, do you know Johnny Ader by any chance?
Mm-mm.
He's a local Maine comedian. He's been doing it for like 30 years.
Okay.
But he was at that open mic, and I was like,
just randomly.
Yeah, he goes around a lot, just trying to like get new stuff. But I was just like so nervous. And he was like barking people in because there's a restaurant upstairs. He was like trying to get people down. And I was like, this guy's nuts. I don't want more people here. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
And then, but now I see Johnny everywhere. And I'm like, dude, now I fully get it. Now I'm like, if we could just have way more people here, this would be great. Like, actually useful. But.
Well, that's something is so hard about it all is when you have all these jokes, sort of material that you're excited to perform. And then you look at the audience and it's like 4 surly, angry comedians and like 2 drunk people. And you're like, do I waste? Like, cause I have this problem where, you know, I feel like I'm making progress, but it's minimal. But sometimes I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good, and then you sort of feel like if I do this right now, and obviously it's not gonna work in this situation, what's that gonna do to my, I don't know, like confidence about this material? Like, how do I not let it affect whether I think it's funny? You know,
I said that last night. I did the open mic, and I was like,
oh, at Empire, you were there?
Yeah, I was like, do I even tell this new joke? Because like I'm just gonna like it
Empire
worked. Then
is so tough too.
Oh, sometimes
All those
yeah,
guys,
it's real.
everyone's just looking at their phone.
Oh, everyone's. Well, that's the problem with like an all comedian mic is you're never going to get anything out of it because the comedian is either going to be looking at their own jokes, thinking about what they're going to say, or they're going to go, I see what you did. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to be like, haha, like,
right.
I mean, people probably think that I come off like an ass because I will purposely fake laugh because I'm like, that's a good joke. I'm just trying to show it to you, but like, I'm not going to like laugh.
I've been on like, television sitcoms and I was always confused because they'd be like, ooh, that one got a laugh. And I'm like, the writers would huddle together and be like, that joke got the biggest laugh. I'm like, this audience is like on methamphetamine and being paid to laugh. Like we said that joke 6 times in a row and the loudness of the laugh didn't diminish. Right. Like these are crazy people. Why are we trusting them?
Yeah.
And that's why Seinfeld is, if you listen to Seinfeld, like that's all, they're not piping or picking up the laughter. I sometimes think for this podcast, now I'm going to digress, but like I want to hack the development process of stand-ups. Like I think it's ripe for some sort of change. And like I was thinking about going on Instagram Live and just being like, do an emoji when you really laugh in your home, you know, like just weird things where you can like somehow get a better sense of what works rather than these open mics full of angry stand-ups.
Yeah. Well, I will say that's like I mean, New York has the same problem, but
New York, I've done have you done open mics in New York? Dude, it's even more brutal.
Right. Yeah. But there's like clubs around the country, like my friend Brendan Ayer, who's a touring
we're going to have him on the pod. Brendan, you don't know that yet.
Yeah. He's at Go Bananas in Cincinnati, a club this weekend, and he did the open mic the night before because he was in early. And he was like, dude, it's so much better. Like these clubs have an audience that comes to the open mic.
Really?
Like people will come out to like watch people work on jokes, and like that seems ideal. But it's how do you get there and build the audience, and then it's also there's a lot of bad at open mics. That's the other.
It's almost like the audience has to know, like they have to have some sort of masochistic joy of kind of watching incredibly uneven comedy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll keep working on it. We'll spitball ways to improve.
Yeah.
So, all right, back to your story. So, you get going. You try it out up in Phippsburg. How far away is Phippsburg from Portland, Maine?
45 minutes.
Oh, it's not that far.
No,
up near Bath. Okay. So 2.5 hours from Boston for those of you who are.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you do it, and then is it a bug caught, or are you like, I didn't like it? What?
No,
what
in fact, I was like I knew part of it. I was like, oh well, I'm still new, and like I know that wasn't actually good, and these people were being nice. Like just in my head, I was like, I know that.
You didn't trust their laughs,
right? But I was like, well, that was fun. I did like it went better than I thought it would. It was kind of like one of those experiences where after I got off stage, I was like, what did I just say? Like
like you've been in a dream or something.
And then they let me do it again in like a couple weeks, and I was like, sure. And I wrote like new stuff. And that's where I met my friend Alex Temple. He's another local stand-up.
Is he coming on the pod?
You could probably get him, I'm sure. He's a new dad.
Alex,
so I'm sure he would love
if you're listening, you're coming on.
But he, that was like the first friend I met in stand-up because we were the same age. Mm-hmm. And he talked about like an idea that I had also written down. And I was like, oh, this is great. Like this is someone I know.
Is he a comedy buddy? Like do you guys help each other?
Yeah, we used to do... when we first started, because there wasn't a ton of mics around here, we would drive to Boston like all the time.
What's
to do
the open mic scene in Boston like?
There's more.
Yeah, I saw that. There's that website. I forget the name of it, but it has Bavada. What is it?
Yeah. That has all the open mic lists like everywhere, right?
Yes, all over the country.
There's more, and when you go to someplace different, like instead of that feeling where the comics know you and they just go whatever, and they don't listen to you. They're like, oh, we don't know this guy. Let's listen. You know, like, oh, cool. There's someone new. Yeah, right. So you can kind of go and like we started figuring out like, all right, well, let's do open mics here for a month. We'll go down there and do a couple, you know, at the end of the month where we bring material that we've worked on all month to be like, is this actually ready?
Oh, cool. And you, how many open mics do you think you've done in Boston? Total 50
probably. I don't.
Yeah. Okay. Over the course of a year or two?
2 years probably.
2 years.
I haven't gone down and done the open mics down there in a little bit
In a
because
while.
now I'm doing shows down there, so it's like I might as well just.
So you've been hired to do shows in Boston?
Yeah,
now.
for sure.
Amazing. Just so you know, like, or listening at home, this is fast. Like, this is a nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're going. You're on a. I've got a.
I don't want that to sound like I meant like. Of course.
No. We Casey's going fast here. This is. Let's not call it meteoric, but it's definitely way above the normal. And so it's really cool, and that's what I'm sort of fascinated by. Is let's get right into this. When did you feel, or let's call it a break? Like in acting, we call it our first break. You know, the first thing you get hired for. But when did your confidence start to like build or click in a real way? Was it pretty immediate or no?
Oh, if I go back and listen to early tapes, it's a lot of me going like, what was I gonna say? What? And then like, it's so awkward and it's just not good. And no, I don't know if I even still have confidence.
Yeah, no. Well, I have to say I've watched whatever, you know, the stuff you have on Instagram, which is always just a taste and some, you know, and it also, you don't get a sense of like the room. But I'll tell you what I notice, and this is in keeping with this weird thing now that I've watched so many people perform in open mics. Even if the jokes aren't working, you can tell when someone's a professional. You can tell that they know what they're doing, and they're just, you know, they're still trying to work it out. But there's a confidence, there's an assuredness, it's intuitive. It's almost like Blink. It's like a subconscious thing. You're like, that person has a lot of experience and knows what they're doing, even if they're not killing or even being. Right. And you feel that too, right? Like,
oh, for sure. When you watch, that's like Johnny is my favorite person to watch not do well. Because he handles it so well, but it's also just so funny because he's acknowledging how it's not going. Like, some people acknowledge it and you're like, all right, dude, we get it. Like, this room isn't fun.
Yes.
But then, like, he does it in such a fun way that it's like a very professional thing where it's like, yeah, we all know this isn't going well, but it's fun. We're all still. And he kind of like brings the room almost up. But, like, yeah.
I think there's a weird thing. Like, if you can stand up there, not do well, and somehow still be full of, like, love and enjoyment. Like, people are just like, okay, you know, and your mind is working. I find when I'm up there now, when it goes poorly, it's like I'm slow. I'm not ahead of my thoughts. You know, I'm kind of behind them, and I'm playing catch up to what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's when I watch you. And clearly, I think these were bits that were you've done before and they're tight. But there's just the assuredness of language. There's a crispness to professionals or to people who are doing it that I'm still not there yet. And I'm like, fuck, am I just under rehearsing? Is it just, should I be treating this like a monologue that I would do, you know, for Steven Spielberg? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
so some people, I'm not very like, I'll write it down, but I won't practice it before saying it beforehand when I go to open mics or anything.
Really?
Because I like the looseness kind of like, okay, I know the idea. If I just read it, I'm going to be so rigid, it's not going to be funny.
I agree, reading it. But I mean, the jokes, like from Seinfeld's point of view, right? Like every word is incredibly important.
So that's the flip side is that then, so that's why I don't do it when I first say it. When I first say it, I go, all right, let's just say it, get the idea out, feel the beats of like what I like of this joke. Because I go up with like, what am I going to remember from what I wrote down? Do what I like of it. And then I go back and write, and I listen to it and I go, okay, this word needs to change. This is what you should fix.
So your first attempt at the joke, there's no attempt to make it perfect. It's the exploratory phase.
Yeah, I will write down like, how I write a lot of times is like I walk around my apartment pacing with a microphone and just like
are
saying
you clothed? Or okay.
Depends on the day, I suppose.
Well, you have a mic, like you have something like
just like that one, and then I just walk around and we'll literally just like riff on the idea out loud.
And
like
you're recording it?
No, I just say it out loud and then I go, oh, okay, let me write down. oh, that's funny, or like it usually comes from one idea. Like, I listened to The Gambler and was like, oh, this.
Yeah, let me rant about The Gambler.
Right, yeah, and then I will think about it and I go, oh, well, that's funny, and then I'll go back, I'll look at the song maybe, and I'll be like, oh, that line's also stupid. Like, you know, no disrespect to the man that wrote The Gambler, but
yeah.
But and then I just. Yeah, then I'll write on ideas, I guess. I guess that doesn't.
Yeah,
I'm a mix of writing and then riffing, and then bring that on stage. I also will forget half the ideas, and that's part of my issue. But
yeah, I mean, me too. I mean, I think I do the same thing. I've discovered sitting in front of a computer and trying to write something funny is definitely not the.
I can't do it.
Yeah, so the ranting, which I shared some of them, is usually where you find something. And as an someone who's always loved improv, that's it. Like,
oh yeah,
and it keeps you alive. I mean, I think I wanted to talk to you about this. It's the biggest challenge I have with stand-up is that once you say it and it works, it loses the magic for me as far as the joy of saying it again. I'm like, now I'm a parlor trick.
Yeah,
now I'm just like, so it's like. And it's making me think, like, what the hell are you doing in stand-up then? That's stand-up. You basically hone it and you deliver it over and over and over again, the same material. So do you have that struggle, or do you like, once you hone it, to keep repeating it?
So once I hone it, I still am like trying to figure out,
Make it better.
Is there another word that I could use? Is this funny? Oh, now that part's done, it makes me think, oh, why don't I, like, one of the videos I posted on Instagram, once I posted it, I was like, oh, how did I miss this? And then I like wrote a whole new angle on it just because I watched me do it myself to post it.
Yeah, when I listened to stuff from a week ago, I'm like, oh my God, I just listened to a 5-minute that when I recorded, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I listened to it and I was like, not only am I never doing that again, but I cannot believe I just shared that with the world.
Right. But no, I mean, definitely that's how I get like tired of, that's honestly what I get tired of, like doing the same material. Like if I'm booked for 15 minutes, if I do the same 15 minutes for like 3 months, I'm like, all right, let's throw. I love to throw a new joke in. Caleb will make fun of me for it all the time because, like, I did. Brendan and I are great friends, but I feature for him at Empire.
When you say feature for him, what does that
mean? So
mean?
it's a host features the middle comic, and then Brendan will headline, do 45. So features like anywhere from 15 to 30, depending on depending on the show. And Caleb was like, you were just doing a big show in front of one of your good friends in stand-up, and I watched you throw in a joke that I know you wrote this week. And he's just like, they love it. And I was like, yeah, but...
Did it work?
Yeah, of course. It was like a new joke where I was like, it was a quick one where I was like, all the beats connected, and it already connects to something else I already talked about.
See, this is what's crazy to me. We have to stop for a second, because if I hadn't been trying this and doing this and learning about this, I'd be like, why is that crazy for a comic? A week is plenty of time to come up with a joke and say it in front of a live audience. No one, I think, understands the level of craft, like building a fucking car engine. That you're doing this thing, and it's weird that a week ago you have a new joke that you added. That's nuts.
So
for the layperson, it's like, wait, these guys...
Yeah, so the thing is, like, stand-up, you can't really practice unless you're in front of people.
Yeah.
So that's part of what makes it so hard to, like, that's what takes it so long.
Yeah.
It's like a musician can play Wonderwall in his room all day and then know if Wonderwall sounds good. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, whereas, and then when he goes in front of people, it's already perfected. Whereas, like, you go and you say this joke and you're like, I think that'll work. And then everyone's like, dude, what? Yuck. Like,
yeah, you know what? It's such a cool thought and idea. It feels like surfing. Why I hate surfing. It's like you can't practice surfing unless you're out there, and it only lasts 2 seconds.
Yeah, that's
like,
a great comparison. Then.
Yeah, so it's like all summer. It's like I surfed all summer. How many seconds were you on waves? It's like 42 seconds.
yeah.
You know, it's like that's like stand up. You're right. You can practice at home, but it's not the same thing. The energy, and that's my thing. I've been practicing. Then you get in the room, and it's like, I can't do it like the way I just did it. This audience is hostile.
Right. Yeah.
Now, are you a bachelor? Are we in love?
I have a girlfriend that I've been dating since, I mean, I was 6 months into stand-up maybe. So, like,
okay,
she's basically been around for the whole thing. She watched me pretty early, And the fact that she stayed was
That's
astonishing.
huge. No, there is nothing that's more vagina repellent than seeing your boyfriend try stand up and bomb.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't think there's anything that will put ice in the bedroom like that. So most couples break up after that.
yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, good for her. What's her name?
Cena.
Okay, Cena. Good for you. You really love your man, don't you?
Yeah, she's great. She's awesome. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So.
She told me, this is going to be mean. She told me she likes your wife more than you. So that's
Oh,
fun.
good. Good. How does she know my wife? From social
because
media?
I was like, because she loves New Girl.
Oh, okay.
So when you started stand up, I was at Empire, and
Yeah.
like one of the first times I saw you, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's the guy from New Girl." And then I was like, what do they know? And so I texted my girlfriend because I know she loves it. And I was like, hey, is this guy from New Girl? And then she was like, yeah. And then knew it. And then I was like, oh, I'm doing his podcast today. So I Googled you because she was like, why does he live in Maine?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know.
Good question.
And then like your wife pops up.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, oh, look, this is his wife. And she was like, oh my God, I love her in that show. So she didn't actually say she loves her more than you. I just thought
it's great. I love it. She's definitely worthy of more love than me. So, okay, so that's cool. So Cena,
Yeah.
Cena. All right, shout out Cena.
Yeah.
Now, do you have a side hustle or a side job?
I dig clams for a living.
Excuse me?
I dig clams. Yeah.
You're a clam digger.
Yes.
This is amazing. All right, so I love steamers.
Yeah.
So when did you start? Is this a family business?
So my dad dug clams my whole life. He's dug clams since he was.
What's his name?
Terry.
Shout out Terry.
Yeah, he'll love that. He started digging. His dad died when he was 18, and he had two younger brothers and a mom who couldn't drive or anything.
His mom couldn't drive.
Yeah, my dad's like 68 years old, and like, so his mom was older and didn't drive. It was just kind of like the way of the times in that time. Like, so yeah, he started digging clams at 18 just to like make money, and was like, I'll do this until I figure out what I want to do. And now he's been doing it for 50 years, and
50 years of clam digging.
Yeah.
How's his lumbar back? How's his back? So clam digging, I see them. I live near a place called the Clam Flats.
Yeah.
And there's these giant rubber boots. Paint the scene of what a clammer looks like.
It's rubber boots up to your hips.
Okay. Up to your hips.
Like up to
yeah. That's insane.
And you just go out in the mud and then dig little tiny holes where the clams like blow water up through the mud.
You look for a little bubble?
It's just a hole in the sand, you know, or like mud, whatever you're in.
Okay.
And then you just dig down and pick them up. That's basically it. It's very much exactly the term that it says.
So what makes a skilled clam digger versus a chump clam digger?
Speed, I guess.
Speed with which you can pull
also not hurting yourself is a good.
So using your body correctly.
Yeah. Like that's one thing my dad has always done is like actually take care of his body pretty well.
Is his back just made of iron?
Oh, this is what I was gonna say. So my dad fell off a roof when he was like in his 20s.
Okay.
Like he did carpentry on the side or whatever, and fell off a roof. And they were like, when you get older, like there's probably gonna be a time where you won't walk, you know, because your back, like, because he.
Sorry to laugh.
No, it's fine. And he like crushed a bunch of discs in his back, and they were like, "Don't dig clams. That's a horrible idea." And then he just kept digging clams because he had nothing else to do. And then he went back to the doctors like in his 50s, and they were like, "It's a great thing you were digging clams this whole time because you've like actually like stretched it out based on the fact that he's been bent over his whole life, and it's actually like helped him." Yeah, I mean his back's like super strong. One time my parents owned like a small like retail clam business in our hometown. But one time the world's strongest man just happened to be in town and stopped by
in Phippsburg.
Yeah. And then he just like touched my dad's back and was like, "That's insane." Like he was
really,
like, yeah.
I want to touch your dad's back.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm sure he'd love it.
Oh my goodness. So does he still clam dig?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
he's 68.
Oh yeah, he goes out with me. I dig with him actually. So,
and how many pounds? What's a good day?
In our town, I mean, a great day is like 150 pounds.
150 pounds of steamers.
Yeah.
And what are they wholesaling per pound?
Depends on the time of year. That changes like a lot. Like,
summer is obviously.
Summer you get paid more. And they also want like a better clam then, obviously. But
are the steamers always the same amount in the beach, or are there like, is it fluctuating with the season?
Year
to year?
Yeah, and like also in the winter, it's a lot harder to find because there's snow and all these other.
Do you
factors.
ever have vacation? Is there a natural steamer
Oh
vacation?
no, not really here.
So just
Some people don't dig during the winter, but we do.
You do.
Yeah.
So did you dig this week?
I dug yesterday. Yeah.
And how many hours?
That depends on where you are. Like where we dig, it's like 6 max probably. Because you have to go.
You listening to tunes?
I listen to like podcasts and stuff.
Oh, great.
Or like if I don't, it's usually just me writing in my head. Like just being
that's cool.
You know what I mean? Like just kind of over.
Is it meditative clam digging? Like do you get in the
some
zone?
days? Then some days I'm like, this is the most miserable experience.
What the hell does your dad think about when he's clam digging?
I don't know. He loves it out there.
He loves it?
Yeah, he says it's like, he's like, all of my problems come when you come back to shore. He's like that's when like money's a problem. Anything's like an actual problem.
Oh,
like,
it's peaceful out there.
Yeah, and he's like, it's the same way it was when I was 18 out here. Like it's just the sunset. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Ducks.
gorgeous.
Yeah,
gorgeous.
right. So that part
That's
is cool,
so
and I
cool.
like being out there, like seeing stuff.
I love steamers. They're so delicious. And I remember, just as a brief digression, I remember giving my kids steamers for the first time. And I'm circumcised and my son is not. And as they pulled off, for those of you who haven't had a steamer, it's a really interesting animal because basically there's a penis and ball sack in a clam shell, right? And then
I get what you're saying.
yeah, and it's like you become an instant. Is it a moil? You basically become a circumciser who can just pull the sheath off the penis, and then you toss that.
Yeah,
and
that
eat
part's nothing. Yeah,
is that an accurate description?
Yeah. Some people won't eat the stomach, which I think is what you're calling the ball sack. Yeah.
It looks like a
no, it does. I never
old
thought about
man's
that.
hanging sack. So it's delicious, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm not
good.
making it sound good, but
No, it
is.
does sound disgusting, and you're just.
And then you dip it, for those who don't know, you dip it in generally some hot water to clean the mud and sand.
So that's
Talk to me.
actually
That's bad?
no. That's actually, my dad had this idea. So my dad never went to college or anything, but he created the first recirculating wet storage system on the East Coast.
What does that mean?
So basically, they don't have the dirt in them in his clams, the ones he sells from his shop. They pump water through
the crack?
So it's like he has this system of water that recirculates and goes through a UV light and a bunch of filters and will pump through, and the clams will pump all that dirt out eventually, and they stay alive because they're in the water and they still feed on stuff in the water. And then
So do you have giant tanks?
Yeah, they do at their retail shop. Yeah, and like when I was a kid, they used to do a ton of business, and then they kind of, as I got older, my dad was like, and yeah.
Retail. You're done with the retail.
They still do retail. You could go down and buy like clams just like retail, but they used to do wholesale more too. And like actually in Scarborough, we still sell to the Clam Bake restaurant.
Oh, nice.
I don't know where that is. And then we used to sell to Bailey's Lobster Pound too.
Oh, cool. All right, so you guys have a proprietary system for no dirt. So you just go straight to the butter.
Yes.
I got to get me some of these clams. How come you didn't come over with some
I didn't
of
know
these?
you liked clams.
Dude.
Some people don't like.
Next time. I absolutely love them. I have these great steamer pots. I can batch cook a ton of clams. All right, so that was my favorite digression of 2025.
There we go. Yeah. Take that, Caleb.
Do you do clam digging bits?
Yeah, a little bit, not a
little
ton.
bit.
It's one of those things where like I feel like I'm too close to it right now to see why it's fun. Like I get that it's funny in name, and also what I'm doing is crazy.
Yeah. It feels like a Shakespearean character, like the clam digger.
But yeah, I do have some jokes about it for sure.
Okay. Well, shout out clam digging. And how many clam diggers do you think there are in Maine? We're going to just stay on clam digging. No. How many clam diggers are there?
So there's like, in our town, there's 20 licenses. So if you go every town on the coast, I don't know, 2,000.
What's crazy to me is, they have oyster farms, right? Are there clam farms? Steamer
Not really.
farms?
They grow in the mud, so it's hard to like have
right. And
so do oysters, but oysters can survive on the
Yeah. But what's shocking to me is that steamers aren't that expensive.
No, not really.
No, it's like in the effort and the circumstances to get them, it's pretty. I don't want the prices to go up, but I'm kind of shocked at the way.
Yeah, they go up a little bit during the summer. I mean, they've gone
What's
up.
a pound? What do you like for a pound of steamers?
I think like, I mean, during the summer it's like $7.
$7 a pound.
Yeah.
And that took you what, 15 minutes to
A
extract?
pound would take you like 2 to 3 minutes.
2 to 3 minutes to
Yeah.
get a pound. Do you come on like you're digging for gold? Like you come on like a giant vein of steamers? Or are they just sort of like equally scattered everywhere? Like, are you ever like, holy fuck, there's 7,000 pounds of steamers in this
I
one
wish
spot.
I found that more. Yeah. But no, for sure, there's definitely spots where it's better. Like there'll be patches where you're like, oh, this is great. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, cool. This last bucket has taken me 45 minutes. This is horrible.
Which sucks.
Yeah.
Now, one last question. There's no
you-
pearls and shit in steamers, right?
Not,
Are there any
not the kind
precious
that you,
gems?
Not the kind you would like use for
jewelry.
Yeah.
There's
So
not,
I guess usually I asked this to my dad. Apparently that's usually like placed in there.
in
Like
an oyster?
Yeah, they'll place like a whatever mineral it is in like oysters, and it'll
Yeah,
kinda
to
make
try to
yeah.
get it going. Okay. Oh man, I'm gonna eat steamers in a whole new way. Fantastic. All right, so that's so 5 days a week you're doing that?
I do it as much as I can. I mean, weekends now, luckily I'm being booked more, so then I'm
And
like,
what are we getting paid now to do stand up? I mean, I will preface this by saying I've been going down to New York and going to the Comedy Cellar.
Mm-hmm.
And just loving it, and I've seen Sam Morril, David Tell all the time, and all these guys. Dave Chappelle, the place is amazing, but it's $75 for
a spot, probably
for a
right?
spot.
Yeah.
So like a guy will come down from their Harlem apartment, like take it down, go do their 15 minutes, and get like $50 to $75.
And but they get to do like eight spots or whatever. They can do like a million spots.
Yeah, that is true.
City.
But I mean, I guess what I'm saying is like that is the apex of that's the preeminent stand-up club in America,
right?
And that's what they're getting paid.
Well, so then they make more money when they go on the road
Touring.
for the weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where like the.
Have we started to do that?
No, I'm no.
Obviously, that's
personally
the goal.
don't think I'm close, but
You don't think I'm close?
I don't think I'm close. Yeah, like
why don't you think you're close?
one, it's hard to get any sort of name up here, which is why I like want to move to New York.
Yeah.
But it's also, I mean, I've headlined a couple times. I want it to be tighter. Like I would rather be like I like trying to be like the best of the. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, small
like,
pond, big fish,
yeah,
small pond,
and
and then move that energy.
Yeah, hopefully I can. Yeah, right. I would like to, because like I go down to New York sometimes and I'm like, okay, I'm holding my own with some of these people, but there's people that are significantly better.
Are you going to open mics in New
Yeah,
York?
and I also went down to Austin. I did a bunch of shows in Austin.
Okay, that's got a good scene because of
the whole Rogan Club and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I did the Creek in the Cave, which used to be a New York club,
Mm-hmm.
and they moved it down there. And I did a couple shows down there. And again, I held my own, but I was like, man, these guys are better. Like they're getting up more than me, so they can practice more than me too. So I want to be at the level of those guys. So like when I came back, I was like, oh, nose to the grindstone. Like you're falling behind because I'm not in a scene where like they can do 100 spots in a week, whereas like we get 5. You know what I mean? So like.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, I think, is
Yeah.
not being in the environment where you're just like all you're thinking about is that.
Right. And that's what I like having like Brendan like a professional is like, okay, Brendan's ahead of me. So I'm trying to like catch him almost in like a friendly competition way where I'm like, all right, I want to be as good as this guy is.
So let's break it down. You want to, and if there are other comics listening, if you became the CEO of your life and you just could step outside and get rid of all, you're not attached to any emotions, you're not attached to any circumstance. If you could just like channel a CEO that would say, that's your goal, and in the next 2 years, this is what you need to do. Do you know the answer to what that CEO would say to you?
Not really, because that's one of the other things about like, I feel like that's a all artist thing is there's no like map. Like with anything like I mean, obviously being a doctor is harder. Like I'm not saying that, but like there's, I go through school, I get good grades, I go to, grad school, I go to med school, and then like work through the residency and do all that stuff. Whereas like with comedy, you're like, I get better, but how do I get followers that make it so that I can tour? Or how do I get better and then seen by or like into clubs? Or how do I get
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you know, like if you're in New York, you just keep grinding and eventually, hopefully, you keep getting better. But it's just a weird, like, there's not an actual map. Like, some
the only map that has ever been told, it seems, is write and perform. That's it.
Exactly.
Just perform, perform, and keep going. And I would add one to that. Not that I know anything, but I would say that you got to live. You know, like you got to live life, and you got to become a full person. You know, with all these layers, because then your material gets more interesting. And I think. I'm always shocked when a 16, 17-year-old can be good.
Yeah.
Because, like, what do you know?
What's your perspective? Right?
Yeah. And I weirdly, starting at 45, 46, it's like there's so much richness in your life, whether it's marriage or kids or home. Like, you've done all these things, and humor can be extracted from all. You've had tragedy, whatever. So I've always huge props to really young comics who are somehow
that I will say that's I got this tip from a comedian when I was young, like young in stand up. I mean not that I'm still am, but was like, if there's ever experience versus an open mic, so like someone's like, hey, let's go to some sort of metal show. I don't like metal, but like they're like, let's go. You do that over the open mic. So every once in a while, because it's like I have this experience now, and so I go to that thing and I go, oh, that's a weird thing. I'm never in this situation, and you almost get like more material out of doing an experience than you do.
Yeah,
like I say yes to like I did an old folks home show. I do like any show, because I'm like, well, worst case scenario, this goes really bad, but then it's funny.
Do you remember any of your jokes at the old folks home?
I have a joke in my act about doing the old folks home, because it went so bad. Because I mean, what do I like? Yeah, my parents watched the Andy Griffith show, and that's the most I can relate to these people on. Like, I have nothing, and it started off well, because I just made fun of the fact that like we're not this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry that I'm here. Like, you guys.
But once you went into your actual set,
once there was material, it was not good.
And you're just getting, you don't even know if they can hear you.
Yeah, no, exactly. One person just gets up and starts walking at me on stage.
Walking toward you.
Yeah, and like a walker, which like, she walked with her walker coming towards stage, and I was like, it was like a long enough time where I was like, is anyone going to like I don't know where she's going. Like,
just start doing crowd work with someone who is losing their mind.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Oh, poor old people, man. We treat them so awfully.
Yeah, I know. It's
so bad. That's hilarious. It reminds me of, at my school, everyone had to be in the glee club, and we would tour and go to old folks' homes and be singing like these, songs, all the prepubescent boys' voices, and they'd be like, the old folks' homes, probably the one you were in, it's like 85 degrees in there because everybody's cold. And so they would warn the kids. They'd be like, do not lock your knees while singing. and sure enough, literally at every old folks home, be like, hallelujah. And be like, oh God. And it's like little Jimmy just fully keels, like full timber, dude. And you'd have to stop singing because little Timmy locked his knees, dude.
That's not to say don't do open mics to any comedians. Definitely go to open mics, but you know what I mean. If there's an experience every once in a while, it's worth
I mean,
going
my issue really is, I know the CEO thing is kind of I know if your goal is to get as good at stand up as fast as humanly possible, it's to go to Austin and New York, surround yourself with these people, write every day, and grind and go up every single day. I mean, it's just simple.
Yeah, I always think about it like in like a basketball sense of like, let's just, I'm not disrespecting people up here, but like, let's just say this scene in basketball would be like, if I'm just playing 8th graders every day, sure, you do well, but it's like, am I going to get as good as if I was playing NBA players every day? You know what I mean? Like, if there's better people around you, you're just going to have to like rise up or fall, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, or like a brain surgeon. You wouldn't want the brain surgeon who's done 10 brain surgeries. You want the one who's done 10 million.
Yes.
You know, like,
yeah. And I think that's the sort of hardest thing about stand up in Maine, right? I mean, we have one or two. You have 5 a week, 6
tops,
maybe 7 tops. And you're just not around. You're not around it.
The good point of being in Maine is that you get, this can be good and bad, is there's a lot of like independent shows, like people put on their own show, and you get longer time than you necessarily have. Mm-hmm. So like you get to do longer sets early, which isn't a great thing in the sense of like you're probably not going to do well, but you can kind of like do more material versus like in New York, your first spot might be a 2-minute set.
2 minutes.
Like, and that's great because you're going to get the best at 2 minutes. But then like up here, I've done 20 minutes quicker than a lot of like comedians who are not 10 years in, but like 5 years in Boston haven't like done 30 minutes where it's like, sure, their 5 minutes might be the tightest 5 minutes, which like I try to also have a tight 5 minutes. I also know that, so I try to keep it tight too. But like they don't get to expand until they like are super deep. You know, does that make sense?
100%.
I'm not explaining that very well.
No, you are. It's perfect. My experience is like I really worked hard on a tight 5.
Yeah.
I realized that what was holding me back was I just didn't. I was placing value on just me thinking I was being interesting, and I was placing no value on just how to cram as much funniness into the tightest window as possible. Yeah. And so I worked really hard and got what I thought was a tight 5. I performed it, and it was an immediate feedback of like 3 guys came up and they were like, will you do our show? Or like, you know, we do a show once a month. And it was like, oh, fuck. That I asked you what your break. That was, I would consider my only break.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, it was like, okay, I just figured something out. You just have to like.
Oh, okay, yeah. So if we're gonna say, I do remember my first show. The first show that they ever had me on, they asked Alex to be on. The guy like asked Alex in front of me. Was like, hey, we're gonna give a spot to someone at this open mic. Asked Alex, and then he like saw. He was like, we could probably give you a guest spot. And I was like, all right, I'll take it, whatever. And then did the show, and it like went well. And it was like, like somehow it went well. Like listening back to that material, I'd be like, ooh, that was like one of those jokes, maybe.
Yeah.
But it went well, and like that was where I was like, oh, all right, so I can do.
This is what it is,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think and then they said, so do you have 10 minutes after? And I was like, no, I just have, you know,
that's a very good thing that you did. Because so many comedians will go, yeah, I got it, when they don't have 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, people assume they have way more material than they do.
So like, I went out to L.A. I have, you know, some well-known stand-up friends. And I did a terrible open mic at the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
You know, and we went out to dinner, and I was like, is it crazy that I'm doing this podcast and I've stated that I'm going to have a 20-minute set at the end of a year? And he was like, absolutely, that's an insane goal. And I was like, what is less insane? He's like, 10 minutes like max by that standard, which is that it's just fucking razor tight, right? All 10 minutes is just crammed. As opposed to like, you know, the 2 minutes of crowd work and then some sort of half-baked meandering story.
Yes, correct.
You know, so I ingested that and was like, oh shit, like I gotta get at least 10 where I feel like it's tight, it's tested, and then I'll go up and have my first experience.
Some comic was just talking to me about that last night about like, I was like, yeah, you have to have your first 10 that is so tight that it's like undeniably like, if I do this 10, it's gonna work, and then you build a second 10. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of, and then you end up just.
Yeah, years.
Yeah, right. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, because I went right when we started, and you were like, I haven't been writing. I finally got this premise, and it was about the gambler. I'm like, oh yeah, this guy he knows, he's being serious about it. Like he knows what a real working joke is, and sometimes it takes forever to get one, right?
Oh yeah,
like one line.
Yeah, right.
Like 10 seconds.
I had this joke that I was working on that I can't get it past a lot. Like I want it to be longer. I'm like, this feels like a vein that I should get into like a minute long joke, we'll say. And it's a 10-second joke. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm just going to add it into a spot where and see if I build on it on it later. Cause it's like The line works. That's so I have a one-line joke. That's great. I mean, like,
Can you share it?
basically, it's about. So the problem that I'm also having with it is the setup is super like convoluted. Like it's so there's too much information. But so in the town that I went to high school in is Bath, Maine. Bath is the home of Bath Iron Works, which is like the largest Navy ship plant in the country,
Big time.
and also everyone in the town works there. But our mascot in high school was was the shipbuilders, which just tells everyone exactly what they're going to do after graduation. And like the joke that I have is like that's like if an art school had the mascot of the baristas. It's like, we know where we're going, dude, but like you can't tell us like that. And that's the line. I'm like, this gets a chuckle. Like
it always will get a chuckle.
Right.
Yeah, that'll always get a chuckle.
And I just have nowhere. I don't really have a place to put it or like anything. So it's just like, okay, cool. I'll figure that out later, I guess.
Yeah, long setup, one thing, not connected to anything else.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm like, well, what was the point of that? I just wasted.
It will come in handy. That thing that'll be ready to fire.
There's
someone else will set up the context in the crowd, and you can have that.
There's I actually did get to use it the other day. I did a show in Bath, and I was like, oh, finally, this is great. But I feel like that's another thing of like, don't be afraid to throw a joke on the back burner. And also don't be afraid to like just lose a joke. Like,
oh my God. Well, I forget them all. I'm lost. I have no short-term memory anymore.
I have a joke that like I for so long would get like, I was like, this part, like for some reason I'm like, there's something here and it kind of works, but I never had anything to it. And then all of a sudden, like I found another premise and I was like, oh, if I just like Frankenstein this all together, all of these like random joke ideas that I've had, now it's like a 5-minute bit of mine that I'm like, oh, like this is what I was waiting for. I just never had a spot for any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
I wanted to, I sort of have a few set questions because I think about like why I'm doing this. One of the reasons is I think it would be super cool for Maine to get more energy into the scene. And what would you say is if you could change anything about Maine comedy scene, what would you change besides just more people coming? You know, do you think there's any sort of like thing that we could be doing or the community of comics could be doing?
See, that is tough because I don't like part of it is that Portland only has 60,000 people. So like, you know what I mean? It's hard to get like, we can't have another club really.
Right.
There's not space. There's not like,
is there anything you wish Empire did differently?
Empire has been huge for me. I think that's honestly been what kind of has like, again, I don't think I'm good, but has got me like further along is just the opportunities there have been like, they have the last call showcase where you get to go up at 9 p.m. So it's like almost like an open mic where you get to go, all right, this is what I worked on for the last month. I'm doing 10 minutes in front of 6 drunk people, but it's like, they're here for fun. They came to a comedy club. They know what they're here for. So it's like kind of I think Empire really has like, and then obviously I've gotten opportunities to open for like Ari Shaffir, you know, like
you
huge,
opened?
Yeah, I featured for Ari.
Wow.
Opened
yeah, brag for us.
Opened for Giannis Pappas, Cam Patterson, Big J, featured for Mike Cannon and Kalen Palufo, which was huge. Those two are incredibly nice to me. And shout out to them. And then obviously that's where I met Brendan, and then Brendan and I have become friends.
And this was all at Empire.
Those were all at Empire, yeah.
Oh, great. So you're like your status at Empire is very solid.
I'm a house comic in quotes.
Yeah.
We don't really have like a setup.
And do they pay you for those?
Yeah. Oh yeah. For all the feature sets and everything is
what do you get?
$100 for featuring, $50 for hosting, I believe.
Is that like 4 hours of clamming?
Depends. I got paid the other day. I did a show in Bath with John Rudnitsky he did SNL. But they paid me $200 because it's like the Chocolate Church. It's like a performing arts center. And every time I went digging after that, I was like, if I don't make the same amount digging clams today, I'm quitting. Like, which is also false. I don't do stand up. Like, I don't get paid $200 enough to go, I don't need to do this. But I was like, man, this is like, that was the first time I was like, wow, it is like crazy that I'm not making as much doing my day job now. Like in a day where I'm like, oh wow, I did 15 minutes on this show and got $200 is crazy. Like,
yeah, and $200 and $100 feels good in your pocket when you've done something you really like. You made people laugh, and now you're $100 richer.
The first time that I ever got paid a 3 digits, I was like, for that? I was like, I did like 2 jokes about my dick. How is this like getting paid for that? That's crazy.
You have I'm not saying this in any kind of. You seem like you're a very authentic guy. I feel like if we were in high school, you'd be acting the exact same way. You do remind me of, in your voice and timbre, of Shane Gillis.
Oh yeah. Uh-oh.
You get that?
Yeah.
I know, and it's a problem because I remember I don't think it's a problem, but my point is, I remember going to my first open mic and I was like, "Oh, everyone's trying to be Shane Gillis." Like they were doing like the fucking
this
hands.
hand thing, this
the
thing.
hands.
Yeah. Everyone, it caught on crazy. I also put my hand behind my back a lot when I'm on stage, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's Shane Gillis," and I'm like, "No, that's Nate Bargatze." If I'm really stealing it from anyone, if we want to be true here, like watching Nate Bargatze, especially, he's doing it the whole time
with the hand behind.
And I think that's where I got it from.
Oh, cool.
So the Shane thing is like, people are gonna trash me probably for this, but like,
love it.
I do think that I like Shane a lot. Like, obviously, you could tell, but like, I do think part of it is like, I was just an athlete who grew up being in the locker room situation. And again, I'm just who I try to be just who I am. Grew up in like a blue collar town, blue collar job. So it's like, yeah, we have similar stories growing up. So it's like, yeah, we're going to act kind of similar.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
No, I don't think, yeah. And I would, and that seems to be one of the greatest challenges with stand up is just like doing something new.
Yeah. Right.
Because, and my way of dealing with that is the only thing that I know no one has is like deeply personal.
I'm a lot of my stuff is just either something that's happened to me or about me, or you know what I mean? Yeah. I can't like, I don't have that like observational thing. I mean,
that's okay,
I guess the gambler
right?
joke I do, but like,
yeah,
like,
but that's okay. Like you don't need to.
No, I think that's like, it's what makes it personal. Like, you know, like,
and I want to hear, like, I want to get to know.
Right.
Someone.
Yeah. I think that is like it's good for the audience too. Cause then you almost, and like, I think it's part of, you get like a little cachet. If up top they learn about you, and then you try like a kind of a darker joke. They're like, yeah, well, I know this guy. Like, he's nice. He doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, he's kidding. Like, it's almost like this is like how I've always looked at stand-up, is like, everyone's funny with their friends, right?
Yes.
So how do I get the audience to be my friends, essentially? Where
Beautiful
it's like,
way to
when I joke around with my friends, they never take anything. They're like, oh, he's obviously kidding. Like, no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
So like, that's kind of what you want with the audience, is like, this is like a big friend hang. It's kind of like, I want it to
that
be.
is a beautiful one. And I've been trying to do that. And I remember doing a set. I was the most confident about it because and I love it because it was basically like, my son asked me if I'd ever done cocaine, and there's just a very funny conversation that ensued. And I really got, it's full of jokes, but the final joke, which I love, is like when I'm explaining what it's like, and it's like, you know, at Halloween you see your friend and he's got more candy than you, and you're just like, I will suck your dick for another Snicker. Yeah. Like, I said that, and everyone was like, oh, like, and I was like, oh, clearly, like, no, everyone was loving this thing, but that was too far. And I was like, that's the only line I like. Like,
right.
You know, and there's a book I read that it was basically like, if you're going to be dark, and it's like, you just don't want to shock the audience. They need to know kind of at the top that that's what you are. You know, if you're a nice guy, you know, if you're just a kind-hearted, clean dude, and then you drop this sun sucking a dick, like, they're just like, who are you? It doesn't work. And that makes me, do you have, it seems like those I'm talking to Caleb, the critical moment is that those, you know, the first 30 seconds, right? Like, showing them that you're funny right away. Yeah. Do you have, when you go up, how do you handle getting that first laugh?
The first laugh is when my anxiety's like, whew, it's gone. Like, but when I'm walking to stage, I'm like, oh shit, dude, well, you don't even know your jokes. Like, what are you doing? Like, well, you're about to like freak out. And then I'll sidebar with this. I did a comedy competition one year and did forget all of my jokes. So I had the worst thing happen to me.
You just forgot them all.
Well, just where I was going, and I stuttered and then reset.
I was just my last open mic. I was for 11 seconds. I was silent on stage. Yeah, as I was just going through the Rolodex and being like, "This is full blank error code."
Oh yeah, but so the other thing I've noticed is like, it's what gets you to that point is like the panic. So you forget and then you panic.
Yes.
That's when you like, and then it's gone. But if you can just realize that first forgetting, no one in the audience is real. Like it's a half a second that you forgot. They don't know.
It was 11 seconds.
Yeah, right. But that's once you start to go, what is it? You know what I mean? Whereas like when you first forget something, you just go, like if you just, it's almost like no one notices because it's in your head. It seems so much longer. And then like once you panic and then you go, it's gone. Like that's when you get to like a longer, where it's like, it was 11 seconds of, but also with the open mic, that's where you should do that. Like
the stakes. Yeah. I've said it before. It's like, because I'm recording and because I'm reporting on these open mics, the stakes are needlessly high for me.
Yeah.
Where they shouldn't be. It is. I mean, I think I'm probably developing faster because of it. And because fear is a good motivator, but,
so anyway, back to the, quick on stage. That's also a thing of why I write so many jokes. I was scared of the silence for so long. Of like, I knew if I could just keep firing jokes, it's like, well, eventually, like, that also comes from like I did a lot of bar shows. Is like, even if they're not listening, if they get a bunch of jokes, like eventually I'll be like, I like that one. Yeah. Even though these guys are drunk, they'll like turn around and be like, that one was funny, and then they'll start listening, kind of thing. Yeah. So, but yeah, scared of the silence is what. But when I go on stage, I have a joke that I go to now, usually pretty quick. But the more comfortable I've gotten on stage, I love doing a riff about something in the room. Or like when I headlined Empire, like I had Caleb feature for me. And Caleb does this like joke. I'm sure they'd be fine. Caleb does this joke where they get like an ass chant going, like "We love ass," and through the audience. And my uncle was at the show, and so I opened being like, I get to find out my uncle loves ass. Like, who would have thought this?
Perfect.
Right. And like that's the stuff I like, the room riff at the beginning, just because it's like everyone's involved and they go, okay, so he is funny. And
have you read Gary Goldman's like 366 tips?
No, I have them saved. I sure do.
Attaboy. I've been sort of on some of the podcast episodes. I'll just riff on 3. I'll just literally read 3 of them. But it reminds me of what he does. He goes, I just try to make an observation that's honest and true about something in the room, something on the stage, something that's happened that no one's just addressed. It's usually an elephant in the room,
right?
Something where you're just like, wow, guys, we're all pretty depressed right now, aren't we? Like it's just like, if it's true, they'll laugh. And so you just got to find something that's true. I was just listening to, I forget his name, but it was on Instagram, and it was this podcast where he was just ripping. He hates crowd work. Like he just hates that this is happening. He's like this poor, like fucking Armenian dude, and you're just gonna rip on him, or you're gonna take some couple that is having, like, they don't know where they stand in their relationship, and you're just gonna humiliate them and make them have a fight on the way home. It's awful. And I was like, it was almost like coming from a heart forward place. It's like,
so I don't really do a ton of crowd work because that's how when I would go to stand up shows, I didn't want to be talked to. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I know the anxiety that they're feeling. Like, I don't want to make that on someone.
But now, like Matt Rife and stuff, like people like
people love it. People go for it too. And like, if someone is a problem in the audience, I will. You know what I mean? If they're being obnoxious,
have you been heckled?
I mean, like I said this on. I'm sure Caleb will be fine with this, but I'll text him after. But so I said this on they interviewed me for the newspaper. They did this like 5 questions with, and they asked, have you ever been
Portland
heckled?
Press Herald?
Yeah.
Nice.
So they asked, they were like, have you ever been heckled? That's like the big fear a lot of people have. And I was like, a lot of times heckles are usually people being positive, but they don't know, like, it's usually like a drunk woman or an overzealous guy who just like are chiming in and almost just like, they don't realize how disruptive they're being. They're having fun.
Their intention is good.
Yes.
The outcome is not.
Right. And they're like trying to, they think help, but it's like, no one needs help.
No.
Like,
you're delusional.
And and it's usually like, a lot of times it's someone in the front row will like comment back to you, like to whatever you're saying. But the problem is you can't be like, hey, would you shut the fuck up? Like, because you're just going to seem like a dick. And also, no one else in the room can hear them. So a lot of times, like, people in the front will say something or be talking like slightly, and like no one can. It's why like on crowd work clips you see them repeat what they say a lot. 1, because it gives them time to think, but 2, it's because no one else can hear what these people like say half the time because they're facing away from everyone and they're also sitting in the second row and they're 100 row, whatever. You know, like, but yeah. So like a lot of times it's not like this. You suck. And then literally the next show I did with Caleb, some woman got hammered. It was like, you suck. To Caleb. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, Caleb. I jinxed you.
Yeah, you did.
Caleb is great, by the way.
Yeah.
Don't take that. They just.
Oh, man. Yeah, I haven't dealt with that. I don't, you read this book of like how to really be a stand-up and how to be prepared. And a lot of it is just like having a set list for hecklers, like having a set list for every situation. And I remember going to a bar open mic and I was like, I don't have the right set for this scene. Like this scene should just be ripping on Maine and people in the army and alcoholics and, people who are spending Sunday at 2 p.m. at a shitty bar in Maine. Yeah. Like I need that material. And it almost feels like the whole thing, I would think a superpower you could have in this business is an incredible memory, where you have like total recall of like everything you've ever written.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is the opposite.
Oh, I don't have it at all.
I don't have it at all. And I'm like,
one thing I think this is like it kind of comes from, Dan Soder?
Yeah.
So it kind of comes from a Dan Soder tip I heard once where he was like, he read that book, How to Win an Argument by Cicero, and basically he takes every angle of a joke. Like if you were trying to win an argument of like in a law room, like you would like take every angle and explore every option, right?
Right. You would be able to articulate everyone's point of view better than they can.
So kind of my angle on this when I'm writing a joke is, where would someone disagree and heckle? What, like if I'm going to do a joke where it's like, okay, I know some people aren't going to agree with this, but it's just the setup, and then I'm going to turn it so they like it's going to be a funny, like it's not going to be, they're going to think they're going to disagree and then it's going to be some sort of silly joke. But like it's where are they going to heckle? So like why would they disagree? Let me have a line where I agree with those people too. Like I almost kind of like,
oh, that's a cool way of thinking.
Do this thing where I like try to minimize the chance that I'm getting heckled, because like also the longer I've got into it, I'm more like, well, I'll just sit and like let it be awkward for a second, and now I can like.
Yeah, there's like, I know what you're thinking.
Yeah,
and really
right.
know.
Yeah.
I know you guys are thinking X, and you don't have to say that, of course.
Right.
But that's the exercise. What are the tricks? What do you think you've learned? This is a hard question, but what have you learned in 4 years? Like, what if someone is just starting out? Like, what are some of the things? What are the Casey Watson tips?
I would say get over before you try to write a story, which learn how to write a joke.
Yes.
So learn how to just write jokes first.
And how did you learn? Where did you learn? Did you read any good books? Is there anything that's helped you write jokes?
I listened to like every podcast I could, or anything where comedians were talking about doing stand-up. Like,
what are the good ones?
Have you ever heard Hot Breath?
No.
Hot Breath is this he's a clean comedian, but he interviews comics about like coming up with stand-up kind of. And like Dan Soder, that's where I heard the Dan Soder Cicero tip was like, read that book. He has the one with Nate Bargatze, Andrew Schultz. Like he does like a million. He
Hot
did
Breath?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I'll check it out.
That was a good one. And then me writing like Mark Normand. Like it's a very, he has like like learning joke structure essentially is like, that guy's incredible. Writing jokes. So it's like, that's kind of where like,
I paid for, he has a video on his website, that 15
from
minutes.
Page to Stage.
Yes.
One? Yeah.
Page
that's
to Stage. Yes. I think I paid like $2 to watch
that's an incredible, like, I love that stuff too. Cause like to me, that's so interesting to watch, like one of the best develop a joke and like get it on to.
Yeah. And he tried it like 28 times before he figured it out.
Yeah. And then it was like, he had to come back from wherever he was, tried it there. It didn't work. Like, yeah.
And what I found, I was watching, I was like, by my standards, every single time he said this joke has worked because the audience is laughing.
Right.
But by his standards, he's like, nah, it's not there. And I'm like, that was a good laugh.
Yeah.
And then like when he finally thought it worked, it was like obviously a great laugh, but I was like, it wasn't that much different than the other laughs that he's been getting.
Yeah. One like story I always heard was Dave Attell he'd write a joke, it would work. And then he would just keep changing the punchline. And each time the punchline is working, like whatever word he was using, he would just keep changing it. But he's like, everyone's like, yeah, but it's working. He's like, yeah, but it's not the. I want the best one. I'm gonna keep trying
Yeah,
until
it's
like
that engine. And
Yeah.
Sam Morrill's like that. I
Oh, of
heard
course, yeah.
like he's just a tinker. He cannot stop.
yeah,
And I think that's my biggest dilemma. No, it's not even a dilemma, but doubt about this whole thing is like, I just don't enjoy tinkering. Like, I
Right.
just want to come up with new stuff.
Yeah.
I just like, I'm a novelty hog. You know, I just want, like, that's the juice for me.
well, but that's like, I mean, Joe List, I mean, Louis C.K. for whatever, but like they do a special a year, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
yeah.
they are always doing new material. Or it's like
Yes.
they're putting out this material like,
Yes.
You
There's
know,
a way to do it.
right, yeah.
Yeah. So what's the plan? Where are people? Where do you see yourself in a few
I would
years?
love to move to New York. That's my plan. I'm hoping by the end of the year, hopefully it would be my goal.
Nice.
But
What
we'll see.
what would keep you from not?
Financially, I don't make a ton of money now. So
Well, you
but-
could
so-
become a barista, dude.
yeah, right. Yeah, it's basically just figuring out how to afford New York and get a job down there because I'm not going to dig clams in New York.
Well, let me say, as your wise elder, you're not going to have a plan that is.
Of course.
You just go.
Right.
You just got to go. Dude.
so that's one thing. Like that's what I'm very inspired by my brother is he just moved to New York.
yeah, do or do not.
Yeah, he just like he went to school for stage management, did it up here a bunch, did it in Lewiston, and then just was like,
Can you stay with him?
yeah, that's what I want to do. That he's moving soon, and I was like, he's like, can you help me move? And I was like, if I could stay whenever I want.
Yeah. What the hell?
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
your brother, man.
Yeah, that's what I
you
say,
got to
yeah.
do. I mean, just on a couch for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and then-
right.
And then you, I think the Comedy Cellar is the coolest place ever because you can just go up to that restaurant
Oh yeah.
and you can just hang and,
Right.
and like hang at that bar.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know what kind of serendipity would happen for someone who's driven like you and clearly knows what they're doing already. Like, man, and you know, you could be a waiter there. I don't know. Like,
Right. Yeah. Just figure something out. Yeah.
yeah. And it's dark. I mean, I lived in New York and that's where I got started acting. And I was 22, 23, and you're 28.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're, if at the end of the year, you're not living in New York, I'm going to be upset.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, I
need
just
that.
don't think I think you just do it. You
No.
know,
Yeah. Brendan. again,
unsolicited,
I know
annoying advice.
I keep bringing up Brendan, but he's been like, I think Brendan has also like helped me a ton just as like, hey, we're just good friends, which is
Yeah.
cool. But like, he's a professional. So I get to like ask him questions about like, hey man, how do you reach out to someone? Like what
Yeah.
is the professional way to do this?
What
Like,
did he say?
he's like, he
You
just,
just do it.
yeah, you just kind of do it and then, you know,
And
be
follow
nice.
up.
Yeah. And do all the right things and have a good tape and all that stuff. And, but like writing, I always feel like in writing, I'm like, this sounds horrible. Like this
Yeah.
sounds so stupid. So he's helped me with like reaching out. But he has also been like, dude, just go to New York.
Oh,
He's like,
good.
it'll never be a good time.
Never be a good
Just
time.
just go.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. He's like, yeah, the first year is gonna really
Suck.
but like, he's like, oh well, like whatever.
Yeah, it will be you'll yeah, no brainer, dude. All right, so when I text you Jan 1,
Yeah, yeah.
you will not be here.
I would like to hope, but we'll see. I mean,
No. The answer is
yes.
yes.
Sorry.
There
yes.
you go. You know, and if you become homeless, just give me a call.
Yeah, I'll come back over here.
yeah, you go home.
yeah.
You've got the backup.
Yeah, right,
dude.
yeah.
Just dig some fucking clams
That's right.
for,
Yeah, I
for
could always
4
just come-
days and then head back.
yeah.
All right, man. This has been awesome. Any you can be found at your handle is at Casey Watt.
Watts.
With an S.
Yeah.
At Casey Watts, WATS.
Yeah, just without the ON of my
Yeah,
last name.
check him out. Follow Casey. He's on a fast trajectory by stand-up comedian standards, and he's moving to New York at the end of the year. So you're going to start seeing a lot more of him. I think.
sure hope so. Yeah.
All right, man.